is Cindi. I am at Simply Cindi. So Chiron has gone retrograde. He went retrograde yesterday, and he will be retrograde until December 29th, because that's a long time. So he's going to have us like every other planet right now. So not only are we having to figure out what we believe in and where we're going, Pluto, with the group and how we're going to be doing things differently, Pluto and Aquarius, but what we believe and how we want to do it, which is Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. But who are we? How do we want to be in this world? What do we want to identify as in this world? What do we want? Right? That's Chiron. What is it that every time that I try to do something for myself, like this is an example. As an Aries, I try to do something for myself, and when I do, I get hurt. Somebody betrays me, or somebody lies to me, or somebody takes something from me, or somebody, like, that's a scenario. That's just an example of how it can come out, right? And so depending on where Aries is in your chart right now will depend on what type, what you're trying to identify yourself as in that area of life. Does that make sense? And you'll be going back over that. This is not something new. This is something you've been working on since 2018, right? Your life has probably changed a lot because of it. You probably no longer give too much, or you probably give more than you used to give, or you're probably a little bit more balanced in it, right? This is just one of the chapters before it ends in 2027. But this is a really deep, specific one. So, and the reason that this one is so important is because where it went retrograde with the moon, how do I feel? How am I perceiving things? I'm just checking in with myself, right? The reason it's going to go direct right here at 19 degrees, right? It's going to go in December, it's going to go direct at 19 degrees. The reason that it's so important, and this is really interesting because there's another thing I got to show you guys. The 19th degree is where we had the eclipse. And remember what the eclipse was. It's a portal. It was our evolution. It was us moving through a different space. It was us moving through the space that we're in now. That's the 19 degrees. So with Chiron going back here, he's saying, what did you change? Are you being authentic in this area of your life? Have you become the warrior in this area of your life? It's just been a little bit, just been from 19 to 23 degrees, right? So how have you seen it? Have you worked with this wound? Have you worked with these people that you've realized, okay, I'm going to keep them in my life, depending on what house, right? I'm going to keep them in my life, but I'm reevaluating. But it's important because it's the spot when it turns direct, you're going to come to a lot of clarity because that's where the North Node, that's where we had the eclipses at the 19th degree of Aries. So that's activating, and it's funny that the moon was there. So it's how you were feeling yesterday and today. Like, how are you feeling about this area of life, which was the same area of the way that we had to move through to the newer space? Does that make sense to you guys? Am I being independent? Am I saying what I really want? Am I being the warrior in this? Am I doing it way differently, probably, than the rest of my family and my friends and my whatever? Because that is Aries. Am I being the warrior in this and pioneering? Am I being independent enough? Am I leaning too much? Like, that's the Chiron in Aries. It's trying to teach us who are you. It's almost like Saturn, where Saturn is like testing you. It's Chiron as well, but you get a wound with that. And again, that wound is not going to heal. That wound is it's a wound that you have to work with, and as you work with it, the pain will lessen. Okay, so before I take a break, let me go over if Aries falls in your first house and you have Chiron there, right? This is about you and your self identity. It's about you having your own independence and your power, right? Um, it's about maybe people have told you that you're not good enough, that you didn't do enough, that you're not doing it right, all that stuff, right? And this is where you understand that it doesn't matter what they say as long as you're okay with yourself. This is where you gain your power, right? This is the wound, the pain there. Over the last of 2018, you may have become angry at that area, and just out of balance. Like, am I asserting myself in the same way? Should I be asserting myself more here? Like, you've been working on this since 2018, right? So in the second house, which is the Taurus house, if you have Chiron in the second house, and this is where I have Chiron in the second house, and it's transiting right now in Aries in the second house. So for me, and I've talked about this, my self-worth. And I say this in that second house Pluto series. It's like it acts like Chiron. I mean, Chiron is acting like Pluto for me in that second house. Am I worthy? Am I stable? Do I have enough resources, right? How do I think of money? How do I think of resources? How do I think of food? How do I think, because that's a Taurus house, right? So what I've been asking, because it's in Aries, and anybody with a second house Chiron will be asking, um, do you truly value yourself? Do I truly value myself? Do I have any value? Do I have any worth? What am I doing? And those are things I've been questioning, right? So, oh, you're welcome. My helpful tips, Kathy. Yeah, that's right. So a lot of us, my age, or it could be second house, like Chiron, and then we've had our return, and it's going to, like, it's been staying in there. So, in the third house, so that's we're going to be dealing with that until we get it. And what we're going to do is we're going to test ourselves. Am I worthy enough? Can I do this? Did I do that? Like, we're going to test ourselves. And that's the wound. Like, we continue to do that until we master these things, and then we see them in other people and we can help, right? It's never going to go away, but the pain will subside, right? Now, in the third house, a Gemini house, it's maybe you were told that your thought process is not good enough, or your, since 2018, if this is transiting, or, you know, are you thinking correctly? Are you communicating correctly? Did you do too much communicating? Did you do not enough communicating? All of that. And with Chiron there, and helping you understand the balance in that and your power in that. Okay. And the fourth house, which is Cancer, this is about where you came from. This is about where your roots are. This is about your DNA, right? This is about, like, you identifying with your DNA. You, oh, I'm sorry. Give me just a second, everyone. Sorry, my grandbaby came back from the pool. So anyway, uh, so the fourth house has to do with your lineage, where you came from, um, and it could be like you being ashamed of where you came from, or you not understanding where you came from, or you not knowing where you came from, right? This has been being worked on, and now that it's in retrograde, maybe some information has come up, maybe some understanding has come up, but it's going to cause you to like, who am I? Where did I come from? It's going to cause you to rethink all of this, assimilate all of this. Does that make sense? And in the fifth house, if Chiron is in the fifth house, which is on the chart, this has to do with your creativity. This has to do with, it could have to do with your children too. Like the relationships may have changed, the understanding may have changed. There's a wound there that needs to be healed. Um, and I mean, that's been going on for ages, right? With all of us. Like I can see that where our parents didn't believe what we believe, and we kind of didn't understand why they didn't believe that. And then having a daughter, she believes totally different than I believe, and all of that. So when it's the fifth house, it could be your children, a a wound there that needs to be healed, um, which is interesting because you as a parent, or you as a child actually too, could think that you did the best and that you did what was right, or that you were fair, or that you whatever. And their perspective, because they're a different generation or they're a different person, could be they were awful. They didn't care. They didn't do. They didn't da da da. Why weren't they so emotional? Why didn't they hug me? Why didn't they? All of that, right? And so, but it's not just that. It has to do with the creativity too. So, you could have been since 2018 not able to do what you did before, or being stunted, or stuck, like the creativity doesn't come, or I don't have the resources to be able to do what I want, or and that has to do with my passion and I really want to do it, right? Or for some of you, it could be dating because romance is in there. That's been stunted. Does that make sense? So in this retrograde, you've worked through some of it. It's not, this part is not going to go away. It's not going to heal. But as you understand it and you learn to work with it, then the pain will subside. Does that make sense? In the sixth house is the Virgo house. We know that. So the wound is about mastery. The wound is about your body. It's your daily routine. It could be your socializing too, right? Because you socialize with your coworkers and your whatever, right? And so since 2018 and now from the 19th degree, when we came to an understanding through the eclipses, it's like um, you could have understood that I don't have to be perfect in, or don't have to completely master this the way that I make my day. I don't have to be, the superhero mom or the superhero dad or the superhero whatever. I put too much pressure on myself. I can sort of relax and understand, even though there's a lot to do. Like all of that could have been changed too. That you're going to be sort of working out. In the seventh house, that's a Libra house, so it's relationship. So the wound is around relationships. Are you attracting the right people? Do you give too much? Do you not give enough? Do you like go into relationships fully knowing that they cannot commit and still want to try? Are you going into relationships fully knowing that they are emotionally unavailable and you still do it thinking you're the one that's going to make them change, right? Are you like all of that? It has to do, and that's just romance. Could be with your parents, um, knowing that you cannot tell them the truth about something, but you do it so that you shock them or you upset them, or knowing that when you tell the truth, whatever this is, you're going to be there's a wound there about you being yourself. Aries, identity. Who am I? The warrior, the pioneer. Yes, we haven't done this. This is the pioneering part, and this is the warrior part. Yes, in my family, we've never done relationships like this, but I am the pioneer, and I owe it to myself to do it like this. Am I going to hurt some people? Yes. But do I really have to tell them what's going on in my personal life like that? Probably not. So maybe I don't hurt them. Maybe I take the moon by not saying anything, right? Did that help you understand how Chiron works? Um, so whatever this is, that's just the romantic part. It could be in partnerships, any type of partnerships, any type of relationships, your friendships. Are you always picking the friend that doesn't pay much attention to you until she needs you or he needs you? Are you picking the friend that totally obsesses about you, right? Like, you're having to come to an understanding about this. There's a wound there that you need to like balance and fix. Okay, so the eighth house, if Chiron and if Aries is in your eighth house right now, this one is around betrayal and intimacy and going deep and um, having contracts with people or having contracts with things like systems, right? It could be that you had a contract as a teacher or like me in the healthcare field. You have contracts, as a doctor, as a whatever, whatever, right? And there's a wound around this where there's betrayal or you're having to give up some intimacy or they have, um, you could have even had a loss of a loved one here because this is like partnership that there's a wound around, right? This is contracts that there's a wound around. So there could be marriage that someone is widowed now. Um, could be inheritances. Did somebody betray you and you didn't get your inheritance, or did they go into probate? Is it probation? I forgot the word for it, but it could have gone into. Is it what's the word? Is it prohibition? What's the word? Why can't I think of the word? It's because I'm channeling. Um, it's could have gone into probate. Thank you. My higher self just said it. It could have gone into probate. Maybe you were inherited this house, but it went into probate. You didn't get it. You didn't have the resources. Like something was lost, right? And so what you're trying to work through in this Chiron, because again, you can't heal it, but you can work with it. So you just learn to be better about your boundaries. You just learn to say, oh, I already know because they're acting this way, what's going to happen. So I'm not going to take this one. Right. Or this person's way too giving and it's going to make me feel guilty and things are going to go wrong. So no, I'm not going to do that either. Or this one seems pretty balanced. This is who I want to work with. And then you enter a contract with that. Does that make sense? Ninth house would be a wound of your belief systems. So your belief, what you thought you believed, what you understood that you believed, what you were told to believe and grew up believing. There's a wound around that. There's a wound of you going and discovering what it is that you believe in. And that's a big thing with the Neptune, Saturn, and Pisces thing, right? But it has to do if you've got that right now and you've got um, Aries, you got Chiron and Aries, you definitely are like going to have an awakening or having an awakening or having parts of it because it's levels of awakening. So um, it is your job if you have these placements basically to go study, go figure it out, go experience, go widen your perspective, go understand different things that you never understood before. That's how you work with this. Are you going to upset some people? Probably because there's a wound there. But this may be the lifetime that you get to do this because you didn't get to do that in the other lives because there was some sort of system, a caste system, or or you were a peasant and not the king or queen, or you came from no money or you came from no resources, and now you, now you're in a society that you're able to do this, right? That is what you should be doing. Um, if you have a ninth house Aries right now in your natal chart because it's transiting, um, yeah. So your 10th house, if Chiron goes into Aries in your 10th house, then you have a wound about, this one's a hard one. You have a wound about not just your reputation, a wound about how people see you, a wound about how you are seen, But you also have a wound about your purpose. You have a wound about knowing what you want to do. You have a wound about understanding who you are and what you want to be out in the world. So, and when you do it, thank you, probate. And when you do it, it's like when you do try to do something that you want, it's like it's not good enough, or it's not really what I wanted. Like it's this wound that keeps happening, right? And so you do need to go experience, like, you do, if your heart is telling you something, you need to go try to find that, fix that, do that, right? You need to honor yourself, basically, and you need to understand that people are going to see what they're going to see. It has nothing to do with who you really are. You show them who you are, and then they have their perspective, right? That's how you can deal with the wound. If the wound is, I mean, if Chiron is in your 11th house, which is Aqua, the wound is around groups and circles and maybe even like social media. It could be, it could just even be the internet. It could be AI. It could be any of that, right? That there's a wound there, whether it's you, your friendships in that, and the way that you work in those circles, or maybe you're in the wrong circles. I just went through Pluto through my 11th house. What I had to do was step away, figure out who I was, and then have my have the group have myself attract the group that's right for me. But that means I had to be authentic, right? So you can work it this way, and you have been working it this way. Maybe you're coming to that understanding. This is just retrograde, where it's like something is going to come about that's going to test that, that's going to make you stand in your truth, right? And then the last is the 12th house wound, which right now Pluto's in my 12th house, even though we're talking about Chiron, but they act a lot alike because they're wounds, right? Um, and you guys know I've been trying to explain the 12th house to you since it's been transiting. It's like the space that you can't see. So whatever this wound is, you can't see it, but you do have other senses. So you can use your other senses to understand it, right? So and you may have like this wound, you don't know it, you don't understand it, you don't see it. Like, I'm trying to think. Some people are afraid of like spiders, right? They've never been bitten by a spider. Nobody's ever uh, made them afraid of spiders. They have never had any bad contact with spiders, but they are deathly afraid of spiders. They shake whenever they see a spider, but they don't know why. Because this could be coming from other lives. This could be coming from other dimensions, right? That's the 12th house wound. Like, you have this wound, this fear or this hurt or this pain or whatever, and you don't know where it comes from. It's just there, right? This is where, as a as a medium or as a hypnotherapist, I can help, because we connect you to your higher self, and then you can see, that's a question you can ask. But this is something that you've been working on, but you can't see it, so it's really hard. It's really hard to like grasp what you're even supposed to do, right? Because it's in your 12th house. But there also could be betrayals in here. There could be the fact that you don't see when things are coming. There could be the fact that you don't see when people are betraying you until it's done and everything's taken from you. That could be a wound in there.